Welcome to Bartolomeo Meo, Mugiwara fans. In the same way that I wrote a video about how the pattern in the rewards could help us to figure out how some parts of the future of the story could be like, now I'm bringing one that is trying to show how Oda has been using some items such as masks and sunglasses to see how they can help us with some of the unsolved mysteries, since this Wano arc is especially loaded with these elements. A mask is always a sign of mystery in One Piece, even the first time that it was used, although it was not for a plot twist but to hide one of the main characters of a Skypiea arc, and besides, in order to create an atmosphere of mystery when the Straw Hats arrived at the Sky Island. You may not remember that it was Wiper the one that welcomed the Straw Hats by attacking them and trying to blow at them with the Going Merry. We're going to see that masks are used to surprise us, but not only with the identity of the one behind them, but for all kinds of unexpected revelations. For example, the only purpose of Yamato's mask was to shock us with her gender. The next time that masks were used, it was for the kind of surprise you would expect from a mask. Since Water 7 was inspired in Venice, where masks are popular, they were used to shock us with the identity of the antagonists of the arc and reveal that those who were behind all the things that were happening at the city and to the Straw Hats were characters that we already met and did not expect to find there. We were dealing with secret government agents, so it made sense that they were undercover pretending to be what they weren't. But curiously, once they were revealed to us, now they are the only ones in the CP0 who do not wear a mask, along with Stasi, who was already introduced to us in Whole Cake. It's literally like if they were wearing masks just for us. So we can already deduce something out of here, and we can expect that at least some of the CP0 agents who are still wearing a mask are known by us. Those who believe that they might be some of Big Mom's childhood friends seem to be on the right track. We have a child from that past who always wore a mask with similar design as one of the members of the CP0, and we also have a long-armed one. And I'll talk later about the sunglasses in flashbacks, but we also had another kid wearing them. It's what makes more sense for now, since it was already the original fate for those children to end up as government agents, so I can't add anything new here. But those three are the ones that are now in Wano, and having them in the same place as Big Mom makes me believe that the beginning of Big Mom being annulled by her own past is coming. Anyway, I expect even some bigger surprise from the CP0, since there are some members who not only hide their faces but their entire bodies. Oda, aware of what he was doing with the CP9 mask, used another one in that same arc as a parody. Sogekin's mask is used beyond Water 7 arc, since it's the image of the reward poster, what leads to situations such as the use of it by the fake Straw Hats or when Bartolomeo didn't know who Usopp was. The following mask was used for a gag. It was hiding the face of a new character, although Oda already played with that by hinting us that we already knew him. And yes, we knew his face, even though we've never seen this character before. Duval had the face of Sanji's reward poster, so here we have another use for the mask. The Supernova are introduced in Sabaody, and one of them wears a mask that completely hides his face. Here, the author gives a further twist, and the surprise is kept for Wano, after more than 500 chapters, when a new character is introduced and we found out later that he was killer without a mask. Another original use of the mask occurs upon arrival at Panhazard, when new characters appear fully covered by anti-gas masks and suits. Apart from because they are using gas, which will be a recurring reference in the arc due to the ability of the main antagonist, they are hiding their strange anatomy of people with animal legs. If we had seen them already at the beginning, we would have been spoiled the mystery that the Straw Hats and us experienced as they got into a place where all kinds of mythological creatures were appearing, one after the other. A dragon, some centaurs, a harpy, etc. As we can see, masks are used to hide something, but the variety of their use is so extensive that most of the times the surprise was not in the identity of who is behind, but something from their appearance. So we will have to consider this. And before finally going to Wano, where the use of masks has multiplied, we should mention that at Pan Hazard we also had masked people among the brokers who were watching Caesar's streaming. I don't think we have to pay much attention to these characters because Oda even put Bonafesta from the movie Stampede there. Either it's him or he reused the design. So I think he might try to show a sort of dark cipher pole here, since the heads of those three match that of those who are now in white in Wano. Or they could directly be them, who must be involved in the weapons market since it's the defeat of Doflamingo what has brought them to Wano looking for a new weapons dealer. Let's go to Wano, where apart from the Fire Festival we are having the Mask Festival as well. Komurasaki, Hitetsu, Kin, the Onigawanshu, Yamato, Kiku. The art already begins with a masked woman playing the intro song. Later, we will understand that she is Hiyori, but the mask could point out that there is something fishy here and things might not be as we think. So I still believe that the one who was in Oroshi's castle was Toki. I've already explained this in a video and I probably will explain more in depth in another. I don't think there are going to be any surprises with the masked members of the Onigawanshu. This time it just looks like an outfit suitable for ninjas, but you never know and something might still come from here. We all agree that Kiku's mask doesn't seem to bring any mystery, don't we? But I do want to mention it because they surprise us with Kiku's gender. Something similar to what was done with Yamato, and the mask was used indeed for that revelation. Once she put her mask on for the very first time is when the prisoners in Udon recognized her and they treat her as a man, so she explained it. So it was also used to surprise us. Let's talk about Hitetsu. The stronger theory right now is that he can be Kosuke Sukiyaki, Oden's father and Momonosuke's grandpa. If there were those who believed this because Hitetsu introduced himself as a Kokeshi doll collector and later Brook mentioned the dolls he saw in the castle, this theory gained much more force when in the anime they assigned to Sukiyaki the same voice actor that there is for Hitetsu. And it certainly seems like a compelling reason, but I'm still not convinced because I see no way to fit his job as a swordsmith to the former shogun. So based on how we've seen the mask being used, I'm going to propose a new theory, in which the mask does not hide a known character, but a familiar face. Wouldn't it bring a good plot and lots of humor to the story if when Hitetsu shows his face, we see Zoro's one? We've already been shown Zoro's face in the figure of the former daimyo of Ringo, Shimotsuki Yoshimaru, just to make us understand that he's related to Zoro. This and the use of the mask in a similar way previously seemed to make him a good candidate who could also be a swordsmith. We've seen how he and his fox companions seem very attached to swords, since Ringo is where the grades with the swords are, and where the swords that the Alliance is using now were stored. The only point that might initially seem against it is precisely the fox, since he and Zoro have already met and fought with his human form, and Onimaru didn't seem to recognize Zoro's resemblance to his beloved partner. But let's remember that he was fighting to defend the Sushui, something that even Kinemon did when sailing with the Strohas in the Sunny, and this fox even attacked Kawamatsu once they were already friends because he wanted to take a sword from the tombs. So I put this option on the table ahead of the one I already put before, that he could be this Kosuke's servant who is currently missing and that now I keep as second option. Hitetsu, under the mask, looks too old to be this character after 20 years. And we have Kin left, someone from a new race called Lunarian who can generate fire, and the only hint we've got about how he looks like is clear hair, a slightly darker skin and part of what appears to be a tattoo. These clues seem to lead us to the mask. Someone with grey skin, clear hair, who always wears a mask and generates fire. That they are not the same character is clear, since the mask is way weaker than Kin and even risks his life fighting Doflamingo for the sake of Luffy. But the coincidences could point to that they are from the same race. I know that it's been pointed out that Kin seems to be the only one left of this race, but I mention it just in case. However, the mask does not have wings, and although Kin's wings could be fake, like turned out to be Hitetsu's, The mask would not bring any surprise, and this way of uncovering his face little by little seems to indicate that will tell us something once it is revealed. So I think it is a better theory if we will see the appearance of a Shandian, who have darker skin and tattoos on the face, including the upper part of the eye. And they also have wings. Just as we saw that the people that came down from the moon seem to be based on the angels, living in the clouds with white wings, the Lunarians, or specifically King, seems to be based on the fallen angel, the antagonist of the angels, related with the fire, with black wings, and living on the red line. That resemblance would surprise us, and we got a reference to the Shandians lately with the silhouette of the sun god Nika. I don't have a better theory for now. I have focused on the mask that covers the face completely because it doesn't seem that this type of mask that cover just partially, which have appeared a lot more, have the purpose of surprises. We don't expect any shocking revelation from these characters, right? Well, this has been my analysis of the use of the mask in One Piece, although this is not the end of the video yet because, as I mentioned at the beginning, I also want to talk about the use of sunglasses. Even though there is a wide variety of sunglasses, I want to focus on the round and dark ones, those that have never let us see the eyes of those who were wearing them. We've seen them in characters like Kureha, Vito, Hawkback, Tufel. The truth is that we are not expecting big surprises from this character. Tufel could be alive. He shouldn't be after Stussy shot him and then the castle collapsed, but in One Piece you never know. Hawkback could reappear since we don't know where he is, and many have made theories about this anonymous old man who appeared giving his opinion on the Marineford War. He could also appear again, but this is not what I want to talk about. Rather, it seems to me that the special use of these glasses is when they appear in flashbacks. For example, there were the ones that hid from us that Denjiro was Kyoshiro, the glasses, and also some drastic physical changes. But he was already marked as someone who looked for in the present. These glasses also appear on this character belonging to the CP9, whose features and jaw fit the ones Who's Who was supposed to have by then, and some people have already noticed it. The ones against this theory point out that age doesn't fit, since Who's Who is 38 years old, which means that the one in the screen should be 14 during Ohara's Buster Call. But let's remember that Who's Who commented that he was compared to Rob Lucci, and Lucci was 13 when he did this. We know Cipher Pulse agents are recruited as children, so it seems to be room for this possibility. Another with these glasses is Scopper Gavan. I have a video where I'm trying to prove that Scopper Gavan is now Dragon, and that he had a son, Luffy, after being in Love Tale for the same reason that Roger had Ace. They were both these, and they knew why and when there would be a great war in the future. Isn't that a good reason to create an army? Apart from the reasons that I explained in that video, there is one that I missed. If Dragon is Scopper Gavan, there would be some of Roger's crew who would know, like Shanks and Baggy. Then, how would we fit in this Baggy's reasoning here if there wasn't a close relationship between Dragon and Roger Pirates?
どうして麦わらと一緒になんだこれ一体状況がまるで飲み込めねえ待てよ確かあいつの親父は革命家ドラゴンって言ってたよなでじいさまがガープだろこの流れでいくとレイリーさんは実はおじさんだったとか
And we are going to end with a very different case. Someone we know well, but whose identity there are no doubts about. Brook. He was always wearing these glasses in his flashback. Certainly, we do not expect surprises here, but being the oldest member of the crew by far, we only know a small part of his past. Keep in mind that he lived through the time of Roger and even Rocks. Besides, we don't know who killed all the Rumba pirates with poison arrows, and that might appear later in the story. Well, now it is really the end of the video. I'm convinced that such masks and sunglasses will keep appearing in One Piece, and now we know what to expect from them. I hope you liked this analysis, and if so, we might meet in some other video. See ya!